The other part of the law, we talked about the law, and then the other part was the regulations. Because what the legislature did was, okay, we've addressed what happens when a data security breach occurs. Making sure there's proper notice, making sure that when you dispose of records, you dispose of them properly. But what they wanted to then do was take steps to make sure that the data security breach doesn't happen in the first place. So they instituted regulations. And that's what you're hearing a lot about. And you'll probably hear a lot more about this over the next several months. Again, actually there should be a new one in here because this just changed last week. Came out in September of 2008, they keep pushing this back. March 1st, 2010 is the new effective date of the regulations. The reason why they keep pushing it back is because the Massachusetts government doesn't think that Massachusetts businesses are taking the regulations seriously enough and are taking the proper steps. I actually know, I serve on a committee with the head of the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. And she is all about consumer protection. And she's made it very clear to me in discussions that once the regulations go into effect, she's going to start hitting small businesses. Now I commented to her, that's a great way to get the economy going again in Massachusetts. She said, well, the problem is she thinks that the big corporations like Shaw's and Superstop and Shop and the TJX's, they're now taking the proper steps and they're doing the right thing. It's the small businesses that aren't going to do the right thing. So this March 1st, 2010 date is a very important date. And I think you're going to see, you'll notice a lot more coverage in the news coming closer to that. Two primary components. I'm not going to go into significant detail about the regulations, but two primary components. One is the development of a comprehensive written information security program. So your business, if you have personal information, you actually need security policies and procedures now. So it's akin to, I think in legal terms, we think of the sexual harassment law and what it required for postings in your office place, in your workplace. This is akin to that in the sense that this is the last, most recent time that the government's come out and said you actually had to have something in writing regarding security policies and procedures. And the second part, and the part of the written information security program is talking about how to secure data in both electronic and paper forms. The second part is talking about the steps you have to do from a technical security requirement to protect your computer system. The appropriate firewalls, the appropriate password protections, and appropriate things you have to do to make sure that your system is protected from hackers. The penalties for violating the regulations, again, 9(3)(a) action. And again, we're talking triple damages, costs, and attorney's fees. People ask the question, well, I'm a healthcare provider, or I'm a bank. I have to comply with other things, so I don't have to comply with this. You still have to comply with both, and there are differences to each. Another thing that you'll hear about, and this will be coming more and more, you'll hear about this as well, because this date it comes up in November 1st of this year, the red flag rule. Red flag rule is really the federal government's response to data security breaches. They don't go as far, not nearly as far as Massachusetts does. The government, what they said was, okay, we want businesses or creditors, but they use creditors and financial institutions. Financial institutions are what you think, they can be banks and banking institutions. Creditors is a really broad term under the red flag rule. Creditors is referring to anyone who provides services before payment. So as you can imagine, in business sense, that's a substantial amount of businesses. And the red flags will require businesses to, again, like the Massachusetts law, create a written program of policies and procedures. What they want you to do is identify where you see risks, where are the red flags for your particular business. What have you identified as potential risks to your data security? And how do you address them through your written information program? Violation of the red flag rules, $2,500 per knowing violation. Now, if you think about that, if you had a hacking into your computer system and your clients' or customers' information was taken, that's going to add up pretty quickly. And the point to remember is that's on top of the Massachusetts funds. So next steps. Don't do it this way. It's not going to work. You have to go ahead and assess where is your company, where does your business stand as far as protection of personal information. So do you have personal information? Okay, I do. Now what do I do? Well, assess, are you in compliance with the Massachusetts data security law and regulations? And are you in compliance with the red flags rule? Do you have a comprehensive written information security program that has policies and procedures that addresses that? And have you implemented the required technical security requirements, like you can get from A Networks, who will come out and assess you and make sure that you are protecting your information from an IT standpoint? Consider bringing in an outside expert. It's a tremendous obligation to take this on yourself and to do this. And really, I don't think businesses, even if those who have IT departments, are having outside vendors come in and help them comply. Because it's nearly impossible to do it in-house. And the consequences of not complying with the statute, not complying with the laws and the regulations are going to be significant. I don't have a lot of good news tonight. I think a lot of, every time I give this talk, I see a lot of unhappy faces. And it's unfortunate, there is a cost associated with complying. And that's something the government is taking into account. And that's why they are trying to, they pushed it back to November 1st, to March 1st, 2010 for the data security regs. And they did that, they tried to tweak the regulations a little bit and say, oh, we have a little bit more room and a little bit more wiggle room for companies to comply. But they're still very serious about making sure that companies are in compliance. I have teamed up, the Rogers Law Firm has teamed up with A Networks, and we actually run a program that helps companies comply. We've been going around quite successfully doing that, right, for all types of businesses, where we do a technical audit and a legal audit. And at the end of the program, we hand you the written information program tailored to your organization, and we test all of your security, your computer equipment to make sure it's secure. And that is that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them right now. There's my contact information as well as Bill Minahan.